for you to be living a sacramental life, you have to be showing them why it's good. You can't just tell them that it's good. They're never going to believe you, right? They want to see the fruit of what you're telling them in your own lives. That's step one. That's the biggest part. And I think the next part is more of like a thing you don't do. I always tell people, don't nag. Don't nag. Be very clear in what you think is best for your child. Show that in your life. But you don't want to give someone a reason to feel like, oh, I'm not going to listen to mom. She's just constantly on my case about got to come back to Catholic Church, got to come to Mass. You just don't want to be that person that accidentally drives someone further and further away because you're trying to do the right thing for them. You just have to be clear in what you want for them, why you think it's good, and then imitate, show that in your life. And then I think after that, you pray. You pray constantly. You pray like St. Monica prayed. And then you take a step back and you let God do his work. And I do think that God works. I'm sure for as many sad stories that a lot of people can share about children who have left the church, there are incredible, miraculous stories of children who have returned to the church, right? So praise God for those, and we continue to pray.
Anybody else? What? Way over there. I'm coming. Wow. Yes. Okay, where was there one? Right here? Sure.
My brother's having a really bad struggle with alcoholism right now. Mm-hmm. And I want to know, how I can be there for him without being overbearing and bugging him about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, great question. So everything I just said about coming back to the Catholic faith, I would just translate that into how can you share with your brother that you think it would be better for him to live a life of sobriety, right? And the way that you do that is by you make what your beliefs clear, you model that in your own life, right? So you couldn't say, brother, I want you to give up this alcoholism, but then you live your own life in a way that neglects sobriety, right? So you have to live soberly in your own life and show him that it is worthwhile to live this way, that it is good. And then I think you take a little bit of a step back. Now, of course, this is a bit of a different situation, right? Because someone who is not coming to church they're at spiritual risk, but maybe not at imminent physical risk of physical harm, whereas someone who is an alcoholic could be a risk to themselves and others at any given time. So I think a little bit more care needs to be taken in paying attention to them. But again, I kind of bring that same mentality forward, is no one wants to feel like they're being smothered. I think no one wants to feel like they're someone's project, right? You only want something from me so you can score a victory for yourself, right? You have to show that you really do desire the best for someone, and in some sense, sacrifice in your own life to help them achieve that best.
Thank you.
When did you know you wanted to become a Catholic priest?
So I was talking a moment ago about kind of like miraculous stories, and I would say that I guess my own is one of them. Because my mom, and I love my mom dearly, and I talk to her every week for hours at a time. She's one of my favorite people in the world to talk to. But she's very open, and she constantly says, Zach, I don't think I did anything to nourish the priesthood. And I disagree, and I shared the reasons why I disagree. But in some sense, yeah, I was away from the church. I was not attending Mass at all. Me coming back to the priesthood was truly a miracle. I can get into that. I don't know how much time I have, gosh. It had to do a lot with my family praying. So that's something I guess I kind of didn't really bring up in this talk because I think it's kind of so evident and so obvious. But the prayer needs to be the undertone of all of this, right? You can't, the foundation of all of this. You need to constantly be praying for your children, even if you feel that you've made mistakes in how they were raised. And I don't know, I'm kind of looking around. I'm aware that at least a good percentage of you, probably your children are already grown. And that's why I thought, is this talk that relevant? I think it still is relevant because you're still relating. You always relate to your child as if they're your little child, right? Just because, and that's how my mom is with me. I may be 32, but she relates to me as if I'm still, 5-year-old Zach who needs all of these things, and that's really good. But you can never, you can't let the mistakes you've made in the past bring you down. I think you just need to pray because God really does work in miraculous ways, and as He did for me. My conversion came reconversion, I guess you would say, because I've always been Catholic, but it came very sporadically. Yeah, it was very fast and very hard-hitting. And I think that came almost entirely through prayer, but a lot because of the example of both of my parents, but especially my mother.
Oh, Becky, go ahead.
So I'm going to try to do my best to put this. My mom was a big influence on my faith, and unfortunately, a couple years ago, she fell into opioid addiction. She is now over a year clean. But while she is still faithful, she is not going to church right now. And every time I ask her, she says she does not feel ready. So can it be the opposite? Can a child can a child encourage their parent to?
Awesome question. Yeah, absolutely. So that's why when I was trying to kind of show that there is anyone can fill a motherly role for someone else at any given time, right? It need not be biological, I gave birth to you, I am your mother, you are my son or daughter, right? A lot of times children, it's like the reverse Uno card, right? There's a switch and you become the caretaker. I said this will especially happen in your, that's a unique circumstance, but the most common one most people face is when their parents become elderly, right? All of a sudden, you are the parent in some sense. You never stop being their child, and they'll never forget that. But you have to take on some of that role where you are the one who's giving the counsel and the encouragement and perhaps the place of safety and shelter, right? Actually, like literally sometimes inviting your parents back into your home to provide for them what they can't provide maybe for themselves anymore. So absolutely, those roles can be switched. And I think no matter, even if you're looking at your own mother, your own parent, that motherly role, you can be a mother to anybody at any given time, no matter what their age.
Okay, somebody over here.
So my older family members are struggling with some of the younger family members who have non-traditional or non-Catholic ideas on marriage and are getting married. I know what I think, but they would all love to hear what a priest thinks on, should we be attending these weddings? These people don't proclaim that they're Catholic, so they're not leaving the church in the sense that they think that they're Catholic.
Yeah, sorry, can I ask a clarifying question? Are these Catholic weddings, or are they
No.
weddings outside of, okay,
No.
so they're weddings outside of the Catholic tradition.
Right.
And Catholics want to know if they can attend these weddings.
Yes, or be
Yeah.
generally supportive or not. How should we love our family members and draw a boundary if we should be drawing a boundary?
Yeah, I find this one of the most difficult questions that I encounter pretty constantly. I mean, I personally encountered. I have many, many friends who are not Catholic. Many people in my family who are not practicing Catholics. So I wonder a lot, do I attend these weddings? What is that saying? And I think the answer is yes. I think you can attend these weddings. I think you just need to be very clear. When you're attending a wedding that's outside of the Catholic Church, the thing to be aware of is it's not a sin to attend a wedding other than a Catholic wedding. The sin there is that it can lead way to scandal. If by you being present seem to be endorsing something apart from what the Catholic Church teaches, that's where we can get ourselves in hot water. So what I always tell people, if you're going to attend a wedding outside of this church, there's two things to be mindful of. First of all, absolutely, you want to show that you love the person getting married, right? You are there to support them because you love them. And then I think you want to be very clear, this is what I believe marriage is. This is what the church teaches, and I believe it because I think that marriage is a witness of God's unconditional love for the world. And if you've shared that in some capacity, you don't have to like feel like you're, teaching an RCIA class to somebody. But if you can share this in some way, I think that you can be present there without it ever feeling like you are scandalizing anybody by being there. It's really good to show people that you love and care for them, right? Because especially, what's the end game here? You want people coming back to the church. You want people to feel like, in my time when maybe I was a little bit confused in life, the church was there for me. And maybe you are standing in proxy for the whole Catholic Church by being at that wedding. And if you can be there and show your love for someone and show them the truth of what marriage is, who knows what seeds that might plant in the life of those people at that time that can flourish later on.
I have a question. How can we, as members of the church, best support our priests?
Pray. I don't know. That's a really good question. I think that, I'm being somewhat sarcastic, but not really. I mean, pray, that's number one. Pray, fast, anything you can possibly do for the priest spiritually. And just speaking as a priest myself, the number one thing that I think a lot of people maybe forget, just remember that priests are real people, right? Priests are guys they come from families, they come from backgrounds, they're passionate about things, they get excited about things. They just love here's the thing, right? All throughout seminary, the thing I was most afraid of was celibacy. I said, how on earth can I possibly live